Welcome to the 84th episode of News Dump, brought to you by Summit Funding, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news scene and discuss. I'm local man Aaron VanTuyl, joined by Chronicle Editor-in-Chief Eric Schwartz, and taking a victory lap on the podcast, really.
You can't even call him a short timer because at this point he's a no timer. Not even getting paid for this podcast.
And am I off the clock already? Yeah, I must be.
Say whatever
you
want.
surrendered your key card, so
there we go.
Eric Rosane making his last appearance before he departs. Are you finally ready to reveal where you're going, Rosane? You've been keeping the world in suspense.
You guys have been leaking it to just
I told you we're going to tweet it out just because of your secrecy.
Yeah, you guys should break the news for me. No, I'm headed over to the Tri-City Herald. Today was my last day at the Chronicle, so
yeah, it was pretty funny when you were trying to do a suspense on everybody and be like, "Oh, where am I going?"
Have you posted the personal note to Twitter yet, though?
No. That's coming right after the podcast. Right when you guys put this out on Twitter, I will retweet it.
Well, because you don't want us to break it on the podcast. I see.
Yeah, probably. But yeah. No, it's been really fun to get to know the people of Lewis County and cover the community. And next time I drive through, I'll remember the good times.
I walked in after a deadline, a horrible deadline, by the way. It left me just bloodied like Rocky Balboa, and took a break, walked over to O'Blarney's as one does, came back, and there's a big group of people. And Aaron, I think you know as well as I, that's usually not a good thing around here.
Yeah. No, it's not.
But it was.
A big group
There was
of people
cookies and punch.
Celebrating Rosé. Usually it's like, there's a meeting. You need to be there. It's a surprise one. You're like, oh God, no. Anyway, it is Tuesday, February 8th, and folks, Oregon's Republican gubernatorial candidate is a swinger?
Oh, I think...
I make you run!
Of course. I think it's a was. He said he was a swinger, briefly.
Former swinger.
He's a recovering swinger? I don't know. I feel like that puts it in a bad light. Let the guy just, enjoy his wild and free past.
He said he briefly explored relationships with other couples. We're talking about Sandy Mayer, Stan Pulliam. And it was just a story we threw up on cronline.com.
He's a Sandy Mayer, all right.
Yeah.
The real question was, anybody really notable involved, though?
Well, we don't know. We don't know who's in the swingers club. Yeah. So it's invite only, though. Yeah, like you said.
Oh, boy.
You can't just show up to those things.
When I posted that story, I knew you were going to lead with it on the news dump. Even though it's not in our state and it's not our governor race, but yeah.
Some of the comments were pretty funny. Why is this news? Who cares? He can do whatever he wants, which is absolutely true. You want to be a swinger, be a swinger. Just own it, man.
I'll be on their side though. When I first heard this story, I was like, my first reaction was, oh, wow, that's kind of interesting. And my second reason was like, but why do people really need to know about this? I don't know. It's funny.
I can tell you as a person that looks at who clicks on what at cronline.com, a lot of people thought it was newsworthy enough to click on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The people have
spoken. I don't know. Maybe it's just sorted. Maybe it just belonged in the grocery aisle line.
I'm sure that would have resulted in some great tabloid style headlines.
Which brings up another good point. This town needs a good tabloid, like something that just yell facts that of
so guys,
questionable origin at you.
Personal news. I'm actually starting my own tab. No,
that would be fine. I would be okay
Lewis
with that.
County Post.
I would subscribe.
All right, moving on to news items. Our first item, Lewis County sees $4.5 million in flood damages. Emergency management received 141 relief calls, including calls were classified as individual damages or calls about residences, businesses, or personal property. The breakdown was 48 calls from Centralia, 78 from Chehalis, 11 from Adna, and then a few more scattered around from the outlying areas. 3 business calls from Centralia, 6 from Chehalis, 1 from Ethel. In all, Ross McDowell called this the New Year's Eve flood. You
know what? I called it the doorstep flood, and I feel like he's overstepping here.
All right, yeah. Because it came to your doorstep.
Yes.
Well, individual damages stemming from the doorstep flood amounted to $1.6 million, or approximately 3 Schwartz Manor yard gnomes. Did you report all of the damages yourself?
It's an expensive gnome.
We had our Christmas decorations out because of Brian Mitke, so he can be expecting some sort of litigation. That was all lost.
Some Christmas lights floated up in my field. Those weren't yours.
That was good. Those could very well be, along with my compost bin, just gone.
Ross McDowell also said the county used the Lewis County Alert Emergency Notification System, which gave people lots of warning and impending events, which They did a good job of getting information out. Like, I don't think it snuck up on anybody. We had, the charts to watch and everything else. And yeah.
I agree. I think I've said it probably 3 weeks in a row, but we've got all this infrastructure and like the alert systems. A lot of this was not in place in 2007. You kind of wonder if we had, and it would still be like horrible, but if we had everything that we have now, then how bad would the destruction be?
Yeah.
I think we'll probably talk about critter pads, but that'd be one area. Eric wrote about those this week.
Yeah.
McDowell also said Lewis County was the first to get their numbers into the state to tally up for FEMA relief funds. And look at Lewis County just sitting there like a dog when you got a treat in your hand, drooling on their knees for that big, sweet Fed money, just begging for it.
What is wrong with you?
Or they're like the YouTube accounts that just post first, in the comment section. Yeah.
Suck it, Grace Harbor.
Yeah. Oh, you were second? I didn't even notice.
They're the first ones to the bar when somebody sends out the group text. It's time to go. Come on, guys.
That's actually usually me.
It's happy hour.
Grace Harbor flooded for like a week after we did.
Yeah.
They just kept getting it.
Still tallying it up.
Yeah.
And then, our next news item is critter pads. If you guys have nothing else to add on the Great Flood.
No, I got nothing.
All right. Farm pads prove their worth in protecting livestock in first big test since 2007. Rosane, you went out to talk to Brad Gregory and Adna out on Bunker Creek Road?
Yeah, he was super helpful. Brought us onto his property, kind of explained. Well, first, Nightcrawler and I drove past his property, and then Nightcrawler was like, "Oh, that's probably him out there. There's a giant farm pad out there." And so, he was very gracious. Kind of explained the process of how he developed the farm pad after the 2007 flood. 75 of his 100 sheep died from that flood. So, and this year it wasn't really a test for him, but it was for many people who have farm pads on their property in the Chehalis Basin. So,
could you describe a farm pad to me in brief?
I just call them man-made mounds, triple M's.
Yeah, they're just elevated pads of earth, and they have fences around them.
Fences with a little bit of essentially. Well, first they have the ramp up so that livestock can actually get up there, and you can actually drive up there if you have a tractor. And then they're usually most of them are supposed to be fenced because if you don't have fences, livestock can get out into the water and whatnot. Yeah. But a lot of people have actually been building these larger than they usually do because they want to park their tractors on it, they want to park their cars on there, they want to park pretty much anything valuable onto the farm pads. But they're kind of interesting. It's kind of doesn't give me the I'm not as astounded as meme mounds or something, but they're
an elegant solution.
They're an elegant solution.
Mounds, the original
they're
flip numbers.
Very simple. As a Adna man and reporter, did you see any of the blow to livestock after the flood? Because I showed up like 2 weeks after that flood to report.
I went out and covered a lot of stuff. I talked to Brad Gregory in 2007, actually. I talked to Shilters a little further out the road. These are all people I grew up with and put in hay with or worked for a lot of them back when I was a younger kid. It was rough. It was devastating out there, man.
One of the interesting stories Brad told me about that, I had a quote in there that they took a boat ride from their house. After the flood, they took a boat ride from their house to the store, and then they got a helicopter ride over to the high school. And he told me there was a Chronicle photographer on that helicopter ride who was taking photos.
Dan Schreiber.
And he gave, I believe, Brad's daughter his pair of socks because hers were soaked or something like that, or is some story like that. But
moments before that all played out, Dan Schreiber, just fun fact, was in the publisher's Forerunner that he let him use, assuming he'd have to drive through some water, which you're not supposed to do. Land Cruiser, you're right. And it was totaled. So he didn't have a vehicle or anything, and he ended up having to get flown out as well, which made for great photos and good coverage. But harrowing experience.
How did you guys get around back during the precipice of the 2007 flood? Was it all by kayak or?
And there was, trucks, but also in the immediate, there was airplanes. We had pilots that would fly us around and let us get photos that way. And then you just had to wait till the roads were cleared off.
Yeah. In lighter news, Centralia's Food Network Cookie Champion opens new bakery downtown.
Oh, my favorite story. Second favorite story of the week.
Sweet Dough Cookie Co. has a real live storefront in Centralia. This is Ashley Shire, who won 2 Christmas cookie challenges on the Food Network. She opened her real life storefront on Saturday? Saturday, the opening day?
It was over the weekend, yeah.
Yeah. She spent 64 hours in the kitchen the week before that, baking cookies and things for the ceremony, creating a total of 109 dozen of her signature sugar cookies to sell. She sold out in an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. People want more cookies, Ashley.
Trying to do the math on my hands, 109 dozen? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a lot of cookies.
Yeah, that is a lot of cookies.
So she's since been running a custom order. Since she won the Food Network challenges, she's been running a custom order bakery through her website, selling by the dozens to people across the country for weddings, bridal showers, birthdays, and other events. Now with her storefront up, she'll put the custom orders on hold as she builds up the brick and mortar presence and hires help. And yeah, it's cool to have a, like Food Network star just slanging cookies downtown.
Local food celebrity.
Yeah.
What do you think the secret ingredient is? You think it's just love? Yeah, I was going to say.
It's actually floodwater.
Yeah, there we go.
I was going to make a joke about your legs, but I won't.
That's okay. Also, it's not the Food Network. It is just Food Network. Isabel has awoken me to this.
There you go.
Well, now we know.
Mm-hmm. Which Eric Rosane should love because he hates the word "the."
Oh, yeah,
I do. I will cut it out of every story.
Next news item, we've got Jason Phelps, PL game call designer, featured on a Netflix hunting show. Jason Phelps is a PL guy. He makes game calls, which game calls are like kind of like custom like handheld horns that you blow, and it sounds like an animal to attract the animal to come over.
Yeah.
He was on Netflix's show Meat Eater, which I think is hosted by what people call like the most famous hunter in the country.
Steven Ranella.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool, especially if you're the hunting type. And yeah, Phelps talks about having a conversation with the elk, which is like, that's wild and also kind of hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Those poor elk. He doesn't just want to talk.
Starts a podcast with him.
Yeah, like how do you say you up on an elk call?
That's essentially, I think, what he's trying to do.
I think so, yeah. But yeah, very cool for Jason Phelps.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I went and actually tried to find the episode, and I know it's there, but I couldn't find it. However, I did find an episode with Joe Rogan, so I watched that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
He didn't say anything inappropriate. I don't know what people are talking about.
Yeah. It's fake news, right?
he was just hunting.
Let's see. Next one. God, we got a lot of stuff in here. You guys want to talk about the cat, Uzi, the avalanche cat?
There was some cute photos there.
Yeah, that was my number one story. It's just weird, and I like it.
Yeah, they just got a cat that hangs out with the ski patrol up at White Pass. Very cool.
That's pretty much the story. Isabel did a much better job of telling it with more words.
Hey, everybody, look at this cat. It can ski.
Yeah.
It can't ski.
Beautifully written story. Check it out on cronline.com.
I liked how the ski patrol guy talked about the rivalry between the front side and backside ski patrols and wouldn't acknowledge that the backside had a ski patrol or anything. That's fun stuff.
It's rivalry at its best.
I wonder if they have their own cat.
He wouldn't tell you probably. He'd be like, I don't know. I don't know what they got going over there. Probably a mongoose.
I do wonder how many people read the story and were like, why did they write a story about this cat? The cat deserved it.
Yeah, it's a cat. Who cares?
That's a hard-working cat right there.
Nobody's forcing you to read it.
I will write about any animal in Lewis County if you give a good pitch. Even Ralph.
You better do it quick. Ralph's getting up there.
Yeah, he certainly is.
Next item. Here we go. PL student protest against state mask mandate continues. District declares protest a political rally. So this started Tuesday. PL students walked out to protest the state's face mask mandate.
Oh, no, you said it right the first time.
Fake
mask mandate. They didn't go back to school Wednesday or Thursday. They had Friday off, but they stood peacefully in front of the school holding signs and banners with their message, no mask. The student protesters were even joined by 2 teachers, and community members drove by to donate food or honk their horns. But Friday, with the students planning another day of protest, this time they had congressional candidate Heidi St. John. She's running against Jamie Herrera Butler and Joe Kent. And Schwartz's favorite politician, District 19 Representative Jim Walsh. The PL School District sent out a message to the protesters asking them to move off campus. Walsh and St. John reported a podcast live on site. And listeners, I regret to inform you, you are no longer listening to Lewis County's worst podcast.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, no, and just to push move the ball forward a little bit, we had some updates today. PL had a emergency meeting, or special meeting, I guess I should say, where the school board kind of commiserated and offered support for the students, but basically came to the same conclusion almost everyone else has. We don't want to risk losing that much funding, and so they tabled it. And then our lead story for tomorrow is Onalaska, Winlock. Some other schools have joined in on the protests. I know Toodle's in on it as well, just out of our coverage area, in various ways. So it seems to be spreading.
Yeah. Boy, what a...
I know you want to talk about Walsh and St. John, and I don't blame you. I really don't.
I don't have anything else to add about St. John, but Jim Walsh I can't believe it took him that long to show up.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised by that, yeah.
He left his star at home, I think, so...
Rosane, unhinged.
He's like the Super Mario of protests. He kind of runs in, bashes his head against something until coins fall out for his campaign fund, and then at the end of the day, a guy in a funny hat tells him, "I'm sorry, but re-election is in another parking lot."
I don't know. I understand how they would explain their presence there, and I'm not.
You could explain Jim Walsh's presence in one word, which is attention.
Yeah, it's attention. But honestly, and I don't dislike James Walsh. When you call him my favorite, that's probably not true, but I don't dislike him. But watching it made me feel uncomfortable when I was watching Jared Winselberg got video of the whole thing, and it just seemed a little exploitive. Heidi St. John's interviews with the kids weren't really interviews so much as they were commentaries, like marked or punctuated by a question mark, but then she would just kind of start back up again because it was a podcast. I don't know. I just feel like she was asking questions that she was then answering.
Oh, okay. So they were having the students out on the podcast.
Definitely. Yeah, they had the students on the podcast. And it was just weird. You had the table, you had the tent, all the sound equipment, and I don't know. I don't know if it was very congressional, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
You're like creating content in front of kids. Like, it's just like, I don't know.
Well, when the other adults too come out and say, "Hey, can you move this off the property?" And then you don't move off the property and you're the two adults there, I don't think that reflects well either. At the end of the day, I think probably the majority, not even probably, definitely the majority of folks probably, enjoyed the support and don't want to wear masks anymore. I try to remember where everybody's at on this, and I think if you were to poll Lewis County kids, especially right now, they don't want to wear masks anymore.
I think probably the majority of the country is probably whether or not they want to vocally say that. I think, and it's part of a national trend of states getting rid of their mask mandates. And
we're supposed to have information next week.
Yeah, Inslee had a press conference today, and it sounds like next week maybe we'll get some news. The outdoor ban that mask mandate that most people I've talked to didn't know existed has been lifted.
And we didn't know about this.
I think over 500 people.
Yeah, I know that now.
It's extremely unlikely to.
Yeah, you think of like a music festival or something, like nobody's going to be wearing masks, unless maybe like one or two people, but a majority of people, they know that if you're outside, it's probably safe, much more safer than being inside.
Well, in any events that you go to of more than 500 people, like there's foam swords involved and people are already wearing masks.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's impossible for me, and I think you guys too, not to commiserate though. When you hear the kid in PL that's talking about how he's a senior, his sophomore year he was entirely remote. The year after that was half remote. This year he's had to wear a mask the entire time, not being able to play sports the way you're used to. Like, you can see going into the home stretch of your senior year and realizing that's going to be it. And wanting to make a push to fix that, especially so many people have had COVID, so many people have been vaccinated. Everybody's kind of on the same page saying that these things need to go. It's just a timing issue now.
Yeah, definitely concerning.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about First Street and what's going on over there?
I guess
they're doing some traffic stuff.
Oh yeah, people weren't happy about that.
Yeah,
no, all the comments hate it, and I don't know.
Was the gist of Dan's story just about the medians that kind of went in? Or?
Yeah, it's part of the streetscape project, but the most visible right now has been over on First Street where they're installing the islands. I don't remember how many, but it's quite a few of them. And then they're doing some median work where First Street runs into Harrison, which I support work there. Nobody knows how to navigate that.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially out-of-towners.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it. The most common I saw was people are just going to run into that over and over again.
Right, yeah. So, wasn't there like that semi that ran over it
was the one
back on Main?
The U Street intersection, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was U Street.
Yeah.
U and, Cherry?
Melon.
Oh,
Cherry.
it was Melon Street,
yeah.
See, I'm leaving the Chronicle, and I still don't even have my
It's okay.
streets down.
It's all right. I'm sure you'll learn every street in the Tri-Cities within a week.
Aaron might have overheard this as well, but whilst having an adult beverage recently, I heard somebody in the background complaining like, drunk people are going to leave here and run right into those things. It's like, there's no other way to prevent this.
Maybe put a flag down. I don't know. Like,
Just make it an obstacle course.
yeah, it's Mario Kart. You already mentioned it, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Overall, I like that streetscape project, and I really like what it's done over there on U and Cherry Melon, whatever that's.
I think people initially thought that giant the bricklaying brick imprint. I think people originally thought that was going to be like some sort of roundabout, because I think I saw a couple comments on that, but it's just to kind of make the whole city look a little more cohesive and draw people into the downtown.
People will riot over a roundabout. I don't like them.
I'm from Yelm, the land of roundabouts. We love our roundabouts.
The one over on Highway 12 before Oakville, like right by the Shales Reservation.
Oh, yeah,
the brand new one there. I love that one because you used to go to that gas station, and if you're turning left, you might as well take a nap. Yeah.
Take a right, then a UE.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's what's going on in the streets. And then we have some news from Chehalis. Kelly Wilson is, if you're listening in Chehalis, your new Chehalis City Council person. It was between him and Terry Harris, and look at the photos, and just two full-haired kings. Just locks on locks on locks with those two guys.
There we go.
Wilson said the largest problem Chehalis currently faces is a lack of engagement in the city's work, saying that folks under 40 have some sort of disconnect from the happenings of the city. To which I say, how dare you, sir? Several people under 40 listen to this podcast.
Including Aaron himself.
I never listen.
Okay.
But
You got me at least.
it's like he's talking to our counterparts in Chehalis, calling him out.
It's like he's not wrong, but the number of times I've heard that from a new candidate or like a new appointee, like 90% of the time you hear that.
Yeah.
Those damn youths aren't taking part in their city.
Well, maybe he should go hang out at the pub more often.
Yeah, there you go.
Get down there and mix it up with the boys.
It's nice to see some new blood, though. I mean, the Chehalis Council, no offense to any of them, but it kind of get into cycles where it's just the same people in different seats. And so it's nice to have somebody new in there.
Yeah. And to think, all of this shuffling on the Chehalis City Council started when that single youthful domino fell, and
Mike Bannon.
No,
yes. Chad.
Oh, Chad, yes.
Oh, Chad, yeah.
Yes. I should have known when you said youthful.
Yeah. Not that Mike's not youthful. Rosane, you're going to the Tri-Cities.
Yeah.
Tonight.
You got a house set up over there?
I just got Grammy over there. Got my mom, my grandpa. So
you're looking.
I'm looking,
Grammy?
but yeah, I got my Grammy.
Looking for a place to rest his head.
Looking for a home. What are you looking for in a home when you start the buying process?
See,
which you
I'm thinking
inevitably
about a giant moat, maybe
to keep the peasants out.
Yes, the peasants. Probably like a giant slip and slide, but like it's like a roller coaster.
I've seen your office. You're going to need like a couple of dumpsters.
Yes, exactly.
Because you like to pile up the rubbish.
I'm
You've
terrible
just got
with that.
like
Yeah.
food laying around, stacks of newspapers. Is your home like that as well?
No comment on that.
All right. Well, when you find a man's home is his castle. And when you find,
Of course.
Castle Rosane, you can call our friend at Summit Funding to get your financing lined up.
Oh wow, how do I do that, Aaron?
Well, you'll need to talk to Jason Gillespie at Summit Funding. He's the home loan expert. He will hook you up with everything you need. And of course, he'll explain the process. And yeah, we know you're great at interpreting data and numbers, but
Yeah,
Jason might even have you beat just a little bit on this one.
There you go.
You can call him at 360-330-4037. You can send him a fax, I guess, at 360-205-4099. Email him at gillespieteam@summitfunding.net. And just visit summitfunding.net on the internet if you're an online person. His address is 1616 South Gold Street in Centralia. It's his office. And of course, When you're ready to buy, use promo code NEWSDUMP. 50% off your first house, even if it's a castle.
Conditions apply.
You know,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, maybe.
You know what I'm going to do right now? When I get downstairs, I'm going to go through all my my food and my
garbage.
newspaper. Yes, my garbage. I've got some crayons down there somewhere. Just going to make a nice crayon drawing of my castle and fax it
Fax
to
it
them.
over to Jasek.
Yeah.
It would like, stop telling people my fax number. You guys want to do?
We think we're going to see Rosane on this. We got to see him out because he's got a long drive. He's literally driving to the Tri-Cities tonight.
All right, Rosane, we will let you out here, and we will be right back with the conclusion of News Dump. All right, we're back on News Dump minus Rosane. Sad to see him go. Do you want to play some sad music or anything?
Well, we've both been holding each other and swaying while weeping softly and looking out over Centralia from the podcast.
It was nice of you to give him a
headquarters.
hug as he departed.
Yeah. I don't know why you insisted on trying to get a picture of that.
I just wanted it for posterity's sake. Tales from the Takes page.
And the Chronicle's hiring. We have an open reporter position. Apply.
You'll never be as good as Rosane.
Send it to news@cronline.com. I'm
wrong
going
kid
to
went
need
to
writing
Tri-Cities.
samples, a resume, references don't hurt.
Yeah, sure.
Interested,
get out there
Aaron?
and apply. No, thank you. Julia McDonald had a column titled "A Memoir Delves into Schizophrenia, Portrays Chehalis as Racist." This was a book published last year, propelled Chehalis onto a national stage, but left it with a black eye. Nice lead from Julie.
It really was.
The book is Tastes Like War, written by Grace M. Cho, a Korean-American, and focuses on her struggle to understand her mother's schizophrenia, but also recounts bullying, racism, and sexual assault she suffered growing up in Chehalis during the 70s and early 80s. Her brother did speak out against her account of Chehalis, noting there were actually 37 Asians in town rather than 3, which the book said there were.
Oddly specific number, though.
Yeah.
But I guess you might, if you're an Asian in the community, know that number. And that wasn't his only problem with her account either. I think it was the overall Chehalis is a racist place. But reading Julie's account, which I thought she did a really good job with it, of course she always does, some of it was really hard to read, the author recounting some of the stuff that happened to her here. So it could be a case of, they just had different experiences.
Yeah. It was a good column, and the book sounds pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Boy, do you this one. John McCroskey's back at it.
He was not wrong on any of this. I'm just going to say that off top.
On display by government leaders who ignore their own edicts. He goes off on governors and mayors and whatnot who have established mandates, and he is not happy.
Hold on, can we just preface it with what he's writing about, which was the LA mayor, and this should be hilarious and kind of repugnant no matter what. The LA mayor who has put into place mask mandates, saying that he held his breath every time he stood with a celebrity and all the pictures of him without a mask. So
It is pretty funny.
It's a bad look.
I'll give it to you.
It's a horrible look.
And it's funny. And McCroskey takes that bad look and just beats it to death.
Yeah.
Quote from his column, but in most cases, nothing will happen to them. Unlike the small businesses, such as Spiffy's and Mackinac locally and others, they crush using the unlimited power of government, which are just speed bumps to their power.
Amen, shouted Lewis County.
Truly, Mackinac and Spiffy's were crushed by the unlimited power of government, with only several months of kid glove warnings and thousands of dollars in federal grants available, and in at least one of those cases distributed. Anyway, this elected officials making the rules and enforcing them take is, of course, brought to you by the former elected sheriff.
Yeah, but he'd never do a mask mandate.
He would never enforce the rules.
Would he go drag some inmates out of the jail and chain them up and have them do work? Damn right he would.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. But I still, you and I will never agree on the restaurant front because regardless of their political stances and whether they grandstanded, I don't think anybody deserves to lose their business because of the pandemic, especially if it's they're specifically as an industry being targeted worse than others. So,
I don't think they should lose their business either. But I think in both those cases, like they had plenty of opportunities to follow the same rules that other businesses nearby them followed and survived.
Yeah.
They just don't like. Just don't. We've done this before. Just
we have.
Thumb your nose.
We've done this. There's also like really inconsistent enforcement as well. I've been told there's cases, and it's not what you would think, Aaron, but of establishments. This one in particular in Chehalis, where the state agents will show up, and the staff have their masks on, but they're around their chins, and they get guidance like, hey, as long as you keep it on your head, you're going to be fine. But then you'll get dinged if you don't have it on your chin. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think that there's corner cutting everywhere, and all of it needs to end, and hopefully it does. But, no one's saying that Omicron's going to be the last thing. We've done this before. Like, that's the funny thing.
But what are you and I going to do on this podcast when we don't have COVID to talk about?
I don't know.
That's why we started this whole thing.
It's true. We had time on our hands. There's no one in the building. Yeah. But I don't know. Don't you remember Inslee flying the flag up on the Space Needle, and Biden held a big press conference. It was like independence from COVID-19, and put your mask down. Like, we did all this before, so I don't know. Yeah, I say hold the phone for 2 months.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
3 months, 3 years.
This next one, I didn't read the whole column, but I vaguely remember the topic. Remembering the 12 labors of Hercules artist. This is Michael Spafford, the artist whose 12 Labors of Hercules murals found a home at Centralia College after they were deemed too controversial for the state capitol, has died. Actually, we've got a clip from the debate where they were discussing the murals.
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
Man, that is like that. I hope that is kept at the state archives in perpetuity, so we never lose that. Because it was a big debate at the Capitol. Some people didn't they think it was too sexual?
Yeah, and look, I have gazed upon these works of arts, and I've got to tell you,
you've seen the pornography.
This is not even the sexiest piece of artwork in or around Corbett Theater at Centralia College, my friend. I've seen that Reach for the Stars statue, and just beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very androgynous.
There was some creative liberties taken, obviously.
And the listeners that don't know, Aaron VanTuyl was the model for the Reaching for the Stars monument.
95% of the model.
And it is accurate in every way.
How dare you, sir? But anyway, yeah, I liked Mickey recognizing this. It's just one of those interesting bits of history that has ties to Lewis County, and it's cool that these works of art are on display at Centralia College.
I like that the artist Spafford, he wanted them destroyed because he had created them specifically for the Capitol and did not want them at Centralia College. Mitke did a good job of telling that history. And it's interesting to me because I started at Centralia College in 2003, which is when they got installed. Mm-hmm. And I remember working for the student paper there and being told about it. And I go in and I was expecting to see something erotic. Like based on the reaction. And I couldn't even find which one they were talking about. Like, that was rough.
You didn't see any boobs anywhere.
I don't know. They're still there today, though, right? I haven't been in Corbett for a while.
Yeah, they're still up there.
Yeah, probably be there forever.
I've been there. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
But it's worth noting that you and I are not art critics.
It's true.
We're not that high society.
I think they look cool. I mean, they fit in.
I mean, look, if you want to impress Lewis County folk with some, sexy, provocative art, just frame some Sports Illustrated swimsuit covers and blow them up.
Oh, I think the Brooklyn Tavern knows how to use sexually explicit art more than just about anyone. So
it'll get you.
Yeah.
And then this last one I threw on there. Letter to the editor, Lewis County, a beautiful red county.
This was a good letter. It's a good letter.
It's so stupid. A couple of weeks back, I suggested that a disgruntled reader who didn't like the right-leaning editorial policy of the Chronicle, catching strays over there, should consider moving to Seattle to find a more friendly political atmosphere. The end. On the following week, another disgruntled liberal suggested I move to Boise to be more comfortable. Typical for a liberal. He missed the entire point. Liberals exist in a fantasy land. So
I love it, dude. And it's part of a trilogy. I mean, we're going to package this thing up and make it available on our new marketplace. So
the TLDR is I told him if he didn't like it, leave. And then he told me if I didn't like it, leave. That dipshit. What an insane person.
It was good. I don't insult any letter writers, so I enjoyed the back and forth tit for tat. You moved to Seattle. You moved to Boise.
No.
You're an idiot. I hope he keeps going. Let it ride.
Yeah, you know what? It's entertaining, and the comments were, of course, great.
I just love when the letters start to like serialize. You know, like this famous Sudokus where a woman wrote in a letter to the editor that her Sudoku was too difficult, and someone else wrote, "No, it's not. You're just not doing it correctly." And then another person wrote with a website they used to cheat. So letters are great.
I like, back in the day before the comment section, this is how people are. This was the marketplace of ideas.
It still is the marketplace of ideas. We get more letters, I think, than just about any newspaper, maybe with the exception of the Reflector in our sister paper to the south. We get so many letters down there that we can't run them all, which I think most newspapers don't do that anyways, but you know what?
But not this
Our
paper.
Platform is your platform. It's exactly what got Spotify in trouble.
That's true. I don't have a People's Champ of the Week. Have you got anybody that...
oh, man. We can just go with Eric Rosane, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Rosane.
May he do adequately on the other side of the mountains. He should have stayed, and as the wife of Dewey Cox once said,
You're going to fail.
You're going to fail.
Sirens Banger of the Week. I didn't read through everything, but the Lewis County Jail inmate that was charged with assault for breaking a fellow inmate's nose. The story is like, I don't know. They got in a fight in jail. It was really entertaining for prosecutor Jonathan Meyer, whose quote was, "We believe there's a community safety issue here. People should be able to be safe in the jail while in custody and not have their nose broken."
I also thought that was great.
That was good. Goodbye,
I also
Meyer.
love that Meyer is an elected official is in there actually doing the work in the courtroom. You don't see that everywhere. I've worked at a lot of papers and done the court beat, and the elected prosecutor is normally more of an office job, managerial directing, but Meyer, he's in there mixing it up.
Yeah, and we'll joke on Meyer and his staff from time to time, but I think they do good work.
Yeah.
I like Meyer. I don't like him at all.
We do. I'll mention just because I like Meyer as well. He's always been a straight up guy to me. He is facing a recall attempt by Kyle Wheeler.
Interesting.
Of the Lollipop Guild, but this has nothing to do with the Lollipop Guild.
It's an important distinction. Honorable mention for Science Banger of the Week to the guy who stole Morton's excavator.
Oh, yeah. They got it back, though.
Yeah, they got it. I followed the Riveting Saga on Facebook, because I'm sure you did as well.
I
They
did.
posted pictures. Somebody stole our excavator. We know who it was. It was this guy, and they posted pictures of the guy.
And they had it back in 12 hours. Yeah, it's small town out there.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
Other crime of the week, I thought, isn't really a crime, but did you read, it's kind of a cross Nisqually Valley News Chronicle story, cache of explosives found at Yelm property?
I did. Wasn't it like the guy died and they went in looking and found a bunch of
He just had a shit ton of explosives. One of the quotes that was the State Patrol Bomb Squad commander said if he was alive, he would be looking at some serious federal charges. So he got away with it.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of weapons, and that's not weird for the Yelm area. Just put it that way. There's a lot of armaments.
Sir, are you prepared for your favorite section of the podcast?
Oh, man, I always dislike these ones. Yeah, let's do it. There's a lot of abuse this week.
Facebook comments of the week. God, I got a lot on here. Excuse me. This one comes from Twitter, and it was after the coverage went out of the PL mask protest. This is a tweet from an account I didn't recognize, but they did at Cronline. Y'all remember when the kids at CHS did a walkout after the Parkland shooting a couple years ago, and Cronline didn't cover it because it disrupted class time? I don't remember that.
I remember the Parkland shooting. My suspicion here, and I won't name any names, is there were certain staffers at the school district that would not allow this Chronicle to come. Not allow, it would just impede us from coming or not tell us. So I don't know. If we had heard about it, we would have gone. I've been here, like I said earlier, since around 2004, 2005, and it is simply not my style to not cover news in the coverage area.
You're not going to thumb your nose at a story idea because it disrupts class time when it's something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
You just covered a walkout at Centralia High School over
there were issues
topic.
of sexual harassment and things like that. We covered that one, and it was pretty disruptive. We couldn't get inside the school, but we did it from outside. And it doesn't mean we're going to hit them all, but I don't know. I don't want to cheapen this individual's experience. He or she obviously miffed that we didn't make it, and good on them.
Yeah, good for speaking truth to power.
Yeah,
and you are the power.
I got no problem with it.
Some comments on a letter about Joe Kent.
Oh boy, I purposely didn't go into that briar patch.
Let's see. I don't even remember what the letter was about, but
It was, I believe, Marty Ainsley out in Cinnabar. He wrote about, I believe, Joe Kent and the Republican Party turning their backs on democracy was the headline.
that's right.
Yeah.
So the first of the three comments I pulled from this, democracy are socialist. So socialist in all caps. Democracy, question mark, question mark, question mark. America is a constitutional republic. Why don't you understand what a republic, the U.S. Constitution, or what Joe Kent is before you make such statements? Go to the source. Is the source Portland 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Could be.
You're really eating up that Heidi St. John advertising.
It just cracks me up. It's Joe Kent with long hair, and he's like, you could practically smell the pot on him. It's hilarious. Another comment. Funny, people that have this opinion about January 6th also support BLM and Chop/Chaz.
They didn't forget Chaz.
And destruction was okay, but January 6th wasn't. Look, nobody said the violence and destruction was okay. I think people were unilaterally against burning down buildings.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think during the protests, let me say this first. In my mind, and this is my personal opinion, the assault on the Capitol is far worse than anything else that happened outside of that.
I agree.
I just have deep held opinions on what it meant, where it points us, and I think it was absolutely the worst. But I do know a lot of these responses, I think, come to reaction in Seattle, where, I mean, we just read in the Seattle Times last week that they left the East Precinct, which was literally under attack, and they were going to give it to the Black Lives Matter group. That was the discussion by the city of Seattle officials, reward the burning, looting, attacking with that. So I disagree with you there. I think there was a lot of looking the other way on the left. I heard a lot of, this destruction and things like that. It's a form of protest and free speech. So differing opinions there. But again, what are we going to do when we can't fight about rioting in the streets?
That's true.
But January 6th, that's to me the worst.
When peace comes to this fair county, what will you and I debate?
We'll just end the podcast. That's just going to have to be what happens.
And another comment just shows how ignorant and out of touch with reality the left really is. It's like, what?
This was all over the Republican Party describing, what did they describe January 6th as? It was like
but political discourse or something?
Yeah, definitely just a political discourse. That's
nothing to see here kind of thing.
That's what that was, yeah.
And actually there was, I'll jump up in the comments. There was another comment I pulled out, a story of Jamie Herrera Butler pushing back against the legitimate political discourse narrative from top Republicans on January 6th recently. The comment was, I watched live. BLM has been much more violent than January 6th ever was. Jamie is not seeing what I saw. Jamie Herrera Butler was there, madam.
And I think I would even say that, maybe there were some more violent protests and things like that, but venue is also very important. I mean, this is the U.S. Capitol. I mean, this is us trying to, certify an election for the most part. And you've got people with zip ties and trying to get into the cap. No, the venue matters a lot. And if you don't think it does, then I don't think you understand the country very well.
Yeah. Let's see. I liked this comment. It was simple, but it's about the two guys that did some crime with a BB gun. Comment was just brilliant criminals, ? Not.
Yeah, one of those guys was already out on bail for a drive-by shooting.
With a BB gun?
I don't know. I think it was a regular gun.
Well,
So this time he downgraded.
He couldn't purchase a firearm anymore, so law is working. Another comment on the No, You Should Leave letter series was just yet another reason cousins should not marry cousins, which is kind of a low blow.
Yeah, it is.
And then there's a story on the Canadian trucker protest situation.
I don't know where that got picked up at. So I posted it. It's a Bloomberg story that we have access to. And I got so many just emails from people all around the world just giving me their opinions on that story. And so I don't know. I don't know if Drudge Report grabbed it. I don't know where it was.
Yeah. Anyway, the comment was interesting. We never saw a single thing about Antifa BLM burning places down. Oh, Jesus. And now with all these people standing for their right/freedom, it is sudden out of control. Okay, more BS lies. What's new?
Well, they're shutting down important borders as well, which is kind of an escalation. But no, I respect that, and I don't want chaos. I think that in both situations this person talks about that the people were in the wrong. That's my opinion. I think you can go out there and wave flags and things like that, but once you start impacting other people's lives negatively, then I would have to say in most cases it's not the right thing to do.
back to...
Do I make you ready?
I'm so glad you installed that.
We've got a comment on the Portland's potential mayor swinger. Comment is, sounds like a true Democrat at heart. As I understand, we in the 3rd District in Washington have a candidate running as a Republican and was a registered Democrat in Bernie Sanders.
You can't get enough of it.
From Portland, Oregon. He moved up here, cut his hair, and registered as a Republican and now running for a congressional seat. I gotta say, Heidi St. John's ad team, effective.
Yeah, they did a good job on that one. It's going to be hard for him to hit back. And I see, like we talked about last week in the comments, that it is doing damage. Like it has affected the way some people look at Joe Kent. And he was the clear front runner. He's got the Trump endorsement.
Clear front runner to compete.
No, yes, excuse me. Yeah, no, I did not. Thank you for correcting me there. The front runner among the challengers on the Republican side specifically. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it's somewhat like it's at least entertaining that they could have Republicans at large have this conversation like, oh, Jamie tried to impeach the president. She doubled down on it. It's going to be real easy to get out. All we got to do is not have too many of us fighting each other before the primary. And then just like flash forward 2 months later, they're all fighting before the primary.
Yeah. Maybe Kent just leans into it now. And he's just like, lets the hair go a little bit, shows up in like a poncho.
That's how you imagine him based off the one blurry photo of him with long hair. It could be a wig too.
He's got like some tattered chinos and flip flops, and he's just like, "Hey man, let's debate, Heidi."
I got a letter writer today that accused Heidi St. John of purposely working in tandem with Jamie Herrera Butler. So.
Sure.
So you got that letter to look forward to for next week. It was a fine letter. I'm not insulting it.
I can't wait. That wraps it up for Facebook comments of the week. Do you want to tell tell the listeners of Lewis County's Second Worst podcast what's in store for the next edition of the Chronicle, which will be dropping Thursday, tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow. It's a lot of it's already available up at cronline.com. But we got some stuff. Let's see what do we got here. Got a nice story. This is actually a News Tribune story. Centralia Grocery Distribution Center hit with hefty COVID fines. Talking about UNLI, where they had the big outbreak over in the Port of Centralia last year. It's actually 3 businesses tied to UNLI. It's kind of a corporate web. It's a little difficult to understand. But it's a good story, and the TNT did a great job, and we were happy to run it in our paper. And this will delight Ralph, but Centralia is considering a new dog park. So they're applying for a grant. This one would be over at Rotary Riverside Park, and it wouldn't be closed in the rainy months like the one in Fort Borst is. So people love that. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got the PL School Board voicing support for students who are protesting, but not ready to take action just yet. A lot of money in play. Lots of good stuff. I don't know. That's your boy Walsh, Jim Walsh.
My boy, yeah.
House Republicans send a letter to governor asking for in-to-indoor mask mandates. And if that letter's not enough, we've got one from Lewis County Commissioner Lindsay Pollock also wrote a letter that said the state mask mandate has eroded public's trust. She's a doctor, Aaron.
What if Jay Inslee picks up Jim Walsh's letter and reads it, and he's like, you know what? God damn it, he's right. And he just immediately walks out of the balcony. He's like, they're all off. Walsh has done it. You know what?
I swear it's obviously, but I think it's like the opposite with Inslee. It always feels like when you're like pressuring him to do something, like all these student protests and send him letters, like he just kind of crosses his arms, just like, no.
Yeah.
Because even Chris Reichdahl, the OSPI superintendent, came out today and said he thinks masks should be optional. And it's like, Inslee called a press conference. I think a lot of people were like, oh, here we go. And then he comes out with essentially, next week, we're going to think about having something to say about that.
Yeah, maybe there's just some like basic human nature. You know, if you're kind of on the fence about doing something and you're like kind of leaning one way and then somebody comes out and it's like, you have to do this. And you're like, no.
I thought, too, maybe it is a practical matter. You've got a lot of states, East Coast states, I think Connecticut, New Jersey, getting rid of their mask mandates in schools. Maybe you let them do it and see what their cases do and maybe react off of that. I think people here at this point, like we've said, a lot of people vaccinated, a lot of people had it, a lot of people both. Like, it's probably a good time to test it out at least.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Once they come off, they're not going back on, though.
Yeah,
it's going to be really hard to get people to put them back on.
You can't put that cat back in the bag.
Can I put one more story out?
You can't put 60% of that cat fat in the bag.
You can't. One more story, and this was probably my favorite light story in tomorrow's paper, is an Isabel Vanderstoop joint, and it's Mary's Corner Gardener 91 to host free classes out of her home garden. And this is Gail Schilling, who I have not heard from for 4 or 5 years. She used to write a column for us. And the discussion in the newsroom today, because we have some photos of her working in her garden at the age of 91, she looks incredible. Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely. I can't even believe she's 91. So, it's a cool story, and I've heard people who have taken the classes before, and it is very beneficial. So I think people should look into it and just jump in there.
All right, cool.
Maybe you can tend those pot plants up behind your house.
Yeah, every time I go out to tend them, I'm just assaulted by Vote Kent signs. It's weird. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of News Dump. Of course, check out Summit Funding and drink some Lewis County coffee. And we will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.